Okay, this intro is either gonna land or not, depending on how accurately I've guessed at where your name came from. So this will be
All
fun.
right. All right. Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Hello, one and all, and welcome to Creative Spark, my YouTube show where I talk to cool people about the cool things that they are doing. With me today is a man who can fix it. At least I think he can. Bob the World Builder.
That's me. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you for finding time. It's a hectic week for you, as we were just discussing.
Yeah. Yeah. We're saying this is the final week of finishing the digital version of the book I've been working on with some people for about a year now. Delve. There's
Mm.
two versions. That's kind of what has made it take super long. There's a 5e version and a Shadow Dark version, and we didn't realize like, okay, to really make these like true and distinct for their distinct
Mm.
audiences, it's kind of like writing two books instead of one book with two versions. So yeah.
Best laid plans. What's been the trick?
Yeah.
What's been the trickiest part of kind of separating the two systems for you?
Um, I guess it's the trickiest part of separating them. Let's see. I don't know. It's hard to pin down one thing because it's funny going back and forth because we made an effort to not make it like it's being converted from
Mm.
one to another, but rather that we are writing parts of it like in one,
Yeah.
parts of it in another, and then so it's kind of like converted equally both ways. And it is really interesting just seeing how going from like 5e, super detailed, very, I guess, clear in how like thorough it
Mm.
is explaining so many things, whereas Shadow Dark is like the opposite. It's like it tries to be very clear by stripping everything down.
Okay.
So it's like having both of those approaches in your head at the same time is probably the toughest part. It's like two different languages basically.
Is there a version that you prefer of the book?
I prefer the stripped down version
Okay.
myself. Yeah. And in my original vision, like for this, it was ideally going to be one book that could work with both systems.
Mm.
But yeah, we realized like very early on, like just in the planning phase, it's like no, we do need to like make two books if we're actually going to satisfy most people instead of purely making it a book just for me. But so yeah, but overall, I've been leaning more into the, like, stripped down part, especially because, like, a big part of the book is a bunch of dungeons, and so when I read a module these days, it's like, I don't know, I if it takes, like, a whole page to
Mm.
describe a room, that's, like, way too long, like,
Right.
I don't like, whatever's in there, it can't be that important, I don't know, but there's still a fine line because, like, I'll say that some of the official Shadow Dark stuff is, like, too stripped down for
Mm.
me in that way, so I feel like our book, yeah, is kind of, I don't know, we're writing it to our own tastes and, like, putting our own touches on stuff that has been fun along
Yeah.
the way too.
I think you've sort of got to when when it's a thing like that, any kind of creative output like that, because if you're not going to be happy with it at the end of
Oh,
it,
yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, because just to go back for a second, you asked, like, if I preferred one way or the other.
mm,
I'm very, very happy with both versions, obviously,
I'm sure.
but
I'm sure.
yeah, I do feel like if I had to choose, yes, I'd probably go for the one that's a little lighter. Yeah.
How much text is the right amount of text for a room in a dungeon?
I don't have a specific word count, but I know it when I see it. Yeah.
This is not what I said we'd be talking about. I said we'd be talking about YouTube, and we will, but this is fascinating.
Yeah.
What have the biggest challenges been outside of like basically writing two books?
Probably writing 2 books while also doing YouTube at the same time. So, yeah, that could be a perfect segue if we need it to be, because that has been the real thing where, like, it's something I've kinda wanted to do for a while,
Mm.
like a book, I'm saying, um, because it's sort of just a step in a progression, like, "Okay, 100,000 subscribers, you should be having a Kickstarter by now," sort of thing. And so I was, like, kinda late to that game, and, but I'm really glad I did it, but the only way I could make it possible, and I think I said this to you just before we started as well, was by partnering with people
Yeah.
who have already successfully, kickstarted, published, fulfilled, like, a few books, on their own. Because without that, like, another thing about my style
Mm.
of writing. It's really more about the process. It's just I'm way too nitpicky about my own writing. Like I'll see something that I wrote a week ago or like a couple weeks ago and think like, what was I thinking? And like want to rewrite it. So if it were just me making a book of, a full
Mm.
length book, this is like 250 pages, one version, about 300 pages, the other version. Yeah, I would never actually finish it. so,
Which is not
so
ideal.
yeah, so doing that, like it's all made possible by having other people who are like keeping things moving along,
Yeah.
and that allows me to also do all this other stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Let us use that as a segue to YouTube then. Cast your mind back nearly 6 years ago
hmm
to a handful of months before your first video.
Okay.
What inspired you to start the channel?
Uh, I think, yeah, at the time of before really starting, I was really I had previously like okay, within that last like year, I had moved to a new state away from my in-person GM D&D group, whatever. And I was still playing online with people, and it was kind of a weird like hybrid situation where
Yeah.
we had some people in person, some other people online. But I didn't have enough RPGs in my life. And so the thing was I needed to start just like writing more on the side. And of course, I'm watching Critical Role and whatever. And so it was partially just like a creative outlet, but then also on the side of it, from the beginning, a piece of it, like with that writing, was like, I want to publish this stuff
Mm.
on DM's Guild, or actually, I think I only knew about DM's Guild. I don't even think I knew Drive Through RPG existed yet, even though they're basically the same thing. Um, and so it was wanting to write some stuff. And then after I wrote my first thing, which was just like a little supplement of a couple like bird folk races with
Mm.
like different sub races, I guess, or they might have been individual ones. I can't even remember now. Um, I was like, I was so happy with it. And then realizing like no one is ever gonna know this exists. And part of me along the way, like I've always been into YouTube, just kind of having grown up with it and everything. And like back in the day, when I was a kid with my
Mm.
friends, like we made silly videos and posted them, whatever. None of those I don't think are exist anymore. I've tried to find them. But anyway, and so yeah, YouTube seemed like a way that, okay, this would also be a cool way that I can talk about
Mm.
RPGs and talk with other people who like RPGs. And I can occasionally talk about the things that I'm trying to write as well. So part of it from the beginning, I guess, was a bit of like marketing,
Mm.
if you could think of it that way. But yeah, very much so. It was me realizing like, hey, I'm like 20 in my like mid to late 20s,
Mm.
and I wish I started playing RPGs when I was, single
Mm.
digits year old. So if I can help other people get into it sooner, that was like kind of the mission. Yeah.
How did you land on the name?
The name very much was thinking, okay, well, there was a few things, I guess, a few parts. One, I did want to include like my name
Yeah.
somewhere. I didn't know if I wanted to use like my actual name, like Matt Colville does or
Yeah.
something, or if I wanted it to be more of like a brand, I guess. But I wanted Bob in there somewhere. And then I guess, well, the world builder part, yeah, obviously there's one obvious piece here. But the less obvious piece here was me wanting to have the channel be more broad than
Mm.
just D&D and like actually be about world building
Yeah.
in general. Because I figured that like, yeah, after, probably several videos, I don't know how many it'll take, but I'll probably like kind of need to move on to something else, right? I'll kind of run out of things to talk about with D&D. And so that way I'm kind of leaving myself more open. But that never happened. And the other thing is that yes, thinking Bob the Builder, like everybody
Yeah.
knows that name. So if I just replace the with world and
Yeah.
it's like it fits in this
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
like it'll just roll off the tongue. And then the funny part is that everybody still calls me Bob the World Builder, even though there's no the in there. So so it's like it kind of worked,
I
I
did in
guess.
the
Like the
intro.
yeah, you did.
I
And
feel like
now
I've been hoodwinked.
yeah, I know. I think it's one of those like is that the Mandela effect thing? Whatever the effect is where people like realize how Fruit Loops is actually spelled on the box.
Yeah,
Yeah, like people think like that's actually part of the name. But I've never actually said
that's
it.
so
It's just
funny.
like part of the zeitgeist though now. Like so many people do say that when referring to me that it seems official. So I've just embraced it over time.
You're just there like there's no the. I didn't put a the in there.
Yeah, and that was intentional because I also wanted just like a cleaner acronym of like
Mm,
BWB
yeah,
instead of like a little T in
you
there
don't
or
want the
something.
tiny T.
But yeah.
Yeah, the tiny T is anathema to so many things. How do you feel your content, your video output has changed in the years since you started?
I think I've managed to improve the quality over time. It was that was one thing. I could say that, yeah, from the behind the scenes, because I did very much start with like iPhone
Mm,
camera, and it was like an iPhone 5 and using like the rear camera. So I
yeah,
couldn't even see myself in the front facing because the rear was like a little higher quality.
yeah,
So I wanted to use that. So like some of my early videos, I'm just like off center or whatever. And it's like resting on like a potted plant and using a window light. So
amazing.
like over time, I've been able to build like I have actual light over here,
Yep.
microphone, whatever. Got all the little bells and whistles. So physically, it's gotten easier to produce videos that way. But in terms of yeah, like the content of them, I think it's stayed like relatively. It's always been the message of like having more fun
Mm,
with D&D or RPGs, whatever. Um, and so that I've stayed true to. But yeah, over the years, the like types of videos have changed because one of the first things I did kind of based on my like one of my initial goals there was like I used to review a lot of DM's Guild
mm,
stuff. And eventually I just kind of phased out of that because I realized like, okay, my videos when I'm talking about the D&D Essentials kit, like these are
yeah.
getting a lot more views. So then that was like a whole like series on the channel that lasted a long time. Kind of did the same thing with the Icewind Dale
Mhm.
campaign adventure book after that. And then like sprinkled in around that time period was when I started doing some of the outdoors ones as
Yeah.
well. And like all along the way, there was just like, more typical GM advice videos too, which I still do. Um, but yeah, I've over the years and definitely within the last year or so transitioned to doing more and more just like recording
Mm,
outside because partially it's that since I've had the amazing opportunity to make this my full-time
mm,
work, I'm inside all the time.
yeah.
And that's just and I guess for a lot of people like that can totally work. But I've always been like a bit of an outdoorsman, I
Okay.
guess. Like it's just kind of like a how I grew up sort of. And so for me, it's like, no, I literally need fresh air or I'm gonna go crazy. So that's been a motivating factor to change up the style of my videos.
It offers a nice distinction between your work and basically everyone else's as well, because most of us nerds can't leave the house. Uh, so I think that's a nice bonus.
Yeah,
Um,
and I will say there's probably like a little bit of a privilege there too because even like this week, for example,
mm,
like I'm a little short on time, so I recorded it indoors. It's way easier because I always have a script and everything. So it's way easier for me to like, okay, set up camera. I still use my phone as a teleprompter, so that's kind of there behind
oh,
it.
smart.
And it's way easier for me to like record the video a lot faster and get right into editing instead of when I'm outdoors. It's like it can take hours sometimes,
Yeah.
like just finding areas that like, okay, it's not too bright right here or whatever. So I get to have that time
Yeah.
outside. It's still like kind of work, but it takes a lot more time to film. So I see how for most people, like they might not be able to fit that into their
Yeah.
schedule. I kind of make it part of my schedule or else I'd go crazy, which we said earlier. So
I respect it. At what point did you realize that this was like not just you having fun on YouTube, it was a thing that you could do?
oh, it was probably those well, yeah, my gut reaction was it was probably those first outdoor videos. The measuring movement speed
Mm,
was like the first one that was just getting an amount of views that was completely unexpected and unlike anything that's
yeah.
happened on my channel. And like all along the way, I've been like talking in like Discord groups or whatever with other people like who also had RPG related YouTube
Mm,
channels. And even like amongst my peers there, like that was just blowing up,
Yeah.
like quite literally. It's what we all like think about could happen sometime. It was like, oh my gosh, that's actually happening. So it was completely unexpected. Um, I think at that time, I don't know if it was like I still don't think though, like the reason I second guessed it was because at that point, it was still very much like, I guess, a more viable side hustle,
Mm.
but I don't think I, at that point, still had the vision that it could become, like, my actual job
Yeah.
for any length of time. I guess that wasn't really until I don't know. I don't know if there was a specific moment or if it just kind of built up after that,
Mm.
but that probably is the closest thing to a turning point,
Okay.
though, because that truly is when just, like, more people noticed my
Yeah.
channel then, basically, for one reason or another, and then started watching all the other videos and looking forward to the
Mm.
new ones, so, yeah.
Was it exciting or like utterly terrifying?
A bit of both, yeah, because up till then, I was still at a point where I would reply to pretty much every single comment on every
Mm.
video, and then it just instantly became impossible to do that,
Yeah.
but I tried to still, so it was like so I didn't realize it was impossible for until too long, but yeah, again, that's like a good problem to have, like too
Yeah.
many people commenting, although, I mean, I guess the part of the terrifying nature of that is once you're reaching a wider audience, like the phrase that I and plenty of other creators like to use is like, "Oh, this piece of content has like breached
Yeah.
containment." Like now it's getting outside of the people who like my stuff
Yeah.
and follow my stuff, and it's gonna hit people who will just instantly hate it,
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
is. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that there was a little more terror injected at that point as well.
It
Yeah,
has escaped the lab, and Dave from accounting hates it specifically.
yeah, yeah.
It's always Dave from accounting when I make stupid jokes like that, and I don't know. I don't think I've even ever met anyone called Dave in accounting, and I was an accountant, so I really don't. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Dave. Uh,
He's out there somewhere though. He
definitely.
might not hate it though.
He might not hate it, but yeah, there's definitely a Dave from accounting out there, so I would assume. Uh, that's a complete tangent. Um, do you feel as though you've managed to stay true to your initial vision with the channel?
Yes and no, because like I said, I feel like part of, the initial vision was to go way more beyond
Mm.
just role-playing games and stuff, but at the same time, it's like I like I said, I haven't run out of things to say,
Yeah.
and, like, I guess that could happen in the future, but over the last couple years, yeah, I've really, like, broadened within that as well to, like, talking about a bunch of other games too. So, like, I don't know, it's tricky because a game like D&D, as we talked about, I guess, with the comparison between, like,
Mm.
D&D and Shadowdark and how designing for them is different. D&D gives you a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much to say because it is so detailed and there's so much you can tinker with there. Whereas a lot of the other games that I do play, I'm drawn to them because they're more stripped down, and that also means there's kind of, like, less to theory craft, I
Yeah.
guess, or maybe in a way, it's almost, like, so open-minded that, yeah, you can theory craft about it forever, but it's harder maybe to grab the attention of
Yeah.
somebody else with those ideas. So, I could see things, like, changing in the future, but ultimately, it's like if as long as it's related to, like, fantasy gaming,
Yeah.
fantasy media, and, like, tangential to world building, I feel like that would still be staying true. Uh, so time will tell if things actually drift away from TTRPGs, though. I kinda feel like I'm gonna be here for quite a while, so
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you pick and choose which specific topics to cover?
Oh, that's a tough one, because, yeah, something that like, people will ask a lot. People like my parents and stuff will be like, "Yeah, how do you come up with, like, things to talk about every week, whatever?" And, like, that's not the problem for me. The problem is picking a topic that I think will get a lot of attention,
Yeah.
basically. So it's like taking all these ideas and then either, like, cutting it down into something that yeah, it just seems like a hot topic or something that I can kind of package in a way to make it a hot topic of
Mm.
its own, basically. That is the hard part. And I don't there's no easy way to describe how it's done or everyone would be YouTubers. So
It's true.
yeah.
That's why I'm doing these
Yeah.
interviews. I just want to eventually amass enough knowledge to just make it a science.
Yeah.
That's not. I don't have the energy for that. Uh, at the end of in November 2024, I believe you posted a shorter video, 5-minute video, talking about uh, how your channel had kind of changed a little bit in what you were like talking about, and how you wanted to get back to talking to.
Oh, yeah, okay. Back to
Oh,
Basics was the name of
that
that one, I
one.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine. Please answer. We'll pretend that was a coherent sentence.
Yeah, so that was I don't basically like at that point, it having been about 2 years since the event that rocked the TTRPG industry, the
Yes.
open gaming license controversy of Wizard of the Coast, basically trying to pull the rug out from under thousands of like independent
Mm.
creators, editors, designers, artists, whatever, who depended on that document. And thankfully, they, within a month or so,
Yeah.
like reversed everything and then threw it in Creative Commons. So it
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is better.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that event really did like change the scene on YouTube, like the sphere of or yeah, I should specifically say within TTRPGs, of course. Outside of TTRPGs, almost nobody knew. It did make some mainstream news at the time,
Yeah.
but the lasting effect has been that now it's like viable to have a channel
Mm.
that's just about like criticizing
Yeah.
stuff, which is interesting. And it's, I guess, a different way to be creative online, kind of. But it's critical, really. There's like the
Mm.
creating versus critiquing kind of mindset. And so in those 2 years, I had definitely stepped into doing, like, more of both instead
Mm.
of where I think I was beforehand, which was much more just on the creative side and, like, the guides and stuff. Um, and then realizing, like, okay, I'm at a point where I'm actually pretty content with I even though I think a part of me will always be a grognard now that I
Yeah.
that I had that, feelings toward the creators of D&D, whatever. There's some little piece of me there. But for the most part, whatever. Like
Yeah.
I'm just kind of past it. And so like I needed to just like say that publicly. Like, yeah, there will probably be times where I'm still like mad at things they do. And I think if anything, I'm just more like even-handed about it
Yeah.
now. Whereas prior, honestly, to all that, I was probably too like rose-tinted
Yeah.
glasses about everything. Um, so now it's just seeing what they produce more for what it is instead of immediately assuming it's going to be amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, just trying to be more fair, I guess, about it.
Makes perfect sense. Um, Critiquing is a lot easier when Hasbro insist on
Oh,
like
yeah.
canceling Sigil and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man, like, it was like that when I saw that news, I was like, "Oh, I could just make a video about this, and, like, it would probably do pretty well."
yeah.
And it'd be much easier than the video I was gonna work on this week. Uh, but I was like, "Other people are gonna make that video. That's fine."
Is it?
And I wasn't really, and it's the thing where it's like,
Mm.
with that topic specifically, okay, like, I'll tell you this, if it comes out in, like, 2 months, they're like, "We're canceling the new starter set we were working on,"
Yeah.
I would be pissed, and I would make a rant video about it. But in this case, with Sigil, like, I wasn't even looking forward to that.
That's
Like,
fair.
it was just I play pretty much all in person, and though I did have a stint of doing a lot of online
Mm.
play when I lived in another state, I have since moved back to, where I don't know,
You
the
are.
people I used to play with
Yeah.
are. Um, yeah, I much prefer playing in person, and I guess I don't wanna sound too cold about that too. I hope there are, and I know there are
Mm.
other amazing tools for people to play online. I know that's the way so many people have to
Yeah.
play, and I'm glad that all exists, but I was not personally invested in
Yeah.
in Sigil. So when it was basically, you know, left on the chopping block or
Yeah.
whatever, it I didn't take personal offense to it. So,
That's
yeah.
very fair. It's obviously a shame for the people working on it. It's like the core thing, I think, for everyone, right?
Yeah, I think that's the I don't know, the most obvious thing is
Yeah.
the workers who poured
Yeah.
years of their time into it, and now it's like, "Oh, it'll never really be what they were all hoping it would be."
Mm.
So, yeah.
Why do you prefer in person over digital?
Oh, it's mostly the I mean, it's kind of like the classic reactions, I
Yeah,
guess. Like you and I right now, one-on-one chat, we're able to like see and
yeah,
respond to like the cues really quickly. But I feel like once you have a small group of people
mm,
online, it's it's just instantly slower to pick up on those little cues. And actually a big one that I noticed more and more recently is how at my table all the time, there will always be, like, a certain, like, pair of
right,
people, whatever, across the table, like, having some side conversation, and it's, like, related to the game.
yeah,
It's not like they're totally tuned out or whatever. Maybe they're joking a little, but, like, they can be doing that while the game is still happening.
yeah,
So it's like I guess it's a weird way that people can kind of stay engaged better because they're able to have those little,
yeah.
like, one-on-ones with people at the table, whereas if you're in a chat online, you kinda I guess you could maybe do that in a text chat on the side or something.
That's how
So,
we do it in my
maybe
group.
yeah, maybe that exists, yeah, but anyway, I that's like a thing that I find is, just having everybody there and, like, I don't know, we make food together and stuff, like, it's kind of a
Ah,
whole it's a whole thing, so it's
food.
great.
The food thing is genuinely like the worst thing about playing online. I play with
Oh, actually, in that too, because yeah,
yeah,
the mic.
yeah, this also. Um, yeah, like not being able to just like share a pizza with your mates and stuff is the worst part
Yeah.
about playing online. Like I'm fine with everything else. I don't have to travel, which is nice. Two of our
Right.
group are in China. One of our group is in
Whoa,
Europe. Two of
okay.
them are
Yeah.
weirdly. One of the other ones is like a 15-minute walk from me. So we're very strangely. So it is like a scattered group. So we couldn't play in person. So it's nice to be able to do, but like it would be so nice to just order a pizza and share a pizza and stuff. And it's such a basic thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
alas, unless we all ordered pizza at the same time, that would be a nightmare.
That's an idea.
It might maybe at some point. It's like 3 a.m. usually when we play for the guys in China. I don't know if they want to
Wow.
be eating pizza at that time. I have nothing but respect for their dedication and I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that is huge. I wouldn't be able to do that. I would not do that.
And I'll wait that time sometimes anyway because of the kids, but it's not like ideal, right?
No, it is the opposite of ideal for me, yeah.
What are your plans for the channel in the long run?
Oh, man. See, the thing is, I don't really make plans. So, honestly, I have such a non-answer for this. Like, it's and that's kind of how I've just, like, I don't know, most of the steps I've taken along the way were just, like, opportunities that came up
Mm,
or literally, like, what seemed fun at the time.
yeah.
That's pretty much how I've steered everything so far. Like, I even this book was people in because I had gotten other, like a small number, not,
Mm,
making this sound like crazy or anything, but a small number of other publishers had previously reached out to me like, "Hey, we'd love to help you, publish a book."
yeah.
It's like, "Oh, well, that'd be great, but like, I need help to write the book too because I can't just like quit this
Yeah.
to write up to take take months off to write a book." But these people just literally, didn't like come out of the woodwork because I had worked with them
Mm,
on some sponsorships in the past. I had done a little writing for them in the past. So they like my videos. They like the way I write.
mm.
And then they were like, hey, we can write a book together. And I'm like, that's what I
That
can do.
that'll do it.
Yes. Let's figure and they were totally open like toward everything from the ground up. We like came up with all of this together. So it's literally just things yeah, just being lucky enough and being willing to, like, say yes to certain
Yeah.
things and no to others, I guess, like, just trying to tease out, like, what are the good opportunities and what are the opportunities that might not go anywhere, um, but very little long-term planning.
We are winging it.
Yeah. Like, I guess, like, in the back of my head, it's like and this isn't even really answering the question because you asked, like, about the channel. Like, I'd love to do another Kickstarter.
Mm,
I have some ideas for, like, books I wanna like, like everybody else, I'm writing, like, 3 different RPGs right now myself,
of
whatever,
course, of course.
that are just been drafts forever and like I said earlier, might be drafts forever the way that I write.
Yeah.
So I kinda will need to, like, pull other people in to force me to finish things. Um, but I'd love to do something with that, maybe do more than on my channel based around like the games that I hopefully someday end up making.
Yeah.
Uh, but as far as yeah, direction of the channel, I guess like soft goals are like I'd like to do more outside. That
Mm.
is something when this current book like wraps up, I should have like more time in a given week.
Yeah.
And so like I might be able to do more of those like longer shoots outdoors. And eventually, yeah, I think I would like to do more outside of just
Mm.
TTRPGs. But that'll be like slow baby steps here and there. Every change that I make is very like tedious and like slow along the way. I'm never like, this is how we're pivoting now.
Yeah.
I don't do that with anything.
I
Yeah.
respect it. Very carefully considered.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on D&D Tube at the moment? Is it Dungeon Tube, D&D Tube? I can never remember. I think it's Dungeon Tube.
Uh, I kind of say Dungeon Tube, but even that I think only happened kind of recently. There hasn't really been a good name for it, so it's what it is. But I don't know. I think if anything, it is just cool to see how like um over the last probably 2 years, I guess it's really been like 5 years,
Mm.
basically since like TikTok kind of took over.
Yeah.
Things definitely changed on the YouTube platform as well, like kind of through shorts, but then bleeding into regular YouTube
Mm-hmm.
algorithm stuff where it's easier today than it was, I don't know, prior to like 2020, I
Yeah.
think, to like get noticed as a smaller channel because you can have a video kind of like how I had my outdoor
Yeah.
videos suddenly blow up, basically. Like I think it's a little easier today for that kind of thing to happen. You don't need to necessarily have a whole backlog of videos already. It's like sometimes a channel's first, second, third video will just reach a ton of people randomly. That was like not a thing just,
Yeah.
5 years ago. So that's really cool to see how like there's always kind of new channels popping up and also just seeing like the crazy high quality that a lot of these people have
Yeah.
from the get-go, because the technology has improved and
Yeah.
it's like more accessible. Like microphones are cheaper, camera, everybody has a great camera on their phone, that kind of thing. um, yeah. So, I mean, that's all more broad, like YouTube stuff in general. Dungeon Tube, I guess, yeah, there is a little more like negativity today, but overall, I'm happy with the state of it, and I do like seeing as well. This is a positive thing that like there is more willingness to branch out
Mm.
because you're no longer like as incentivized to only specifically talk about D&D.
Yeah.
People who like play a lot of other games are able to talk about other games too, and then also still get noticed because those
Yeah.
small videos can still, or yeah, those less popular games can still become a big video sometimes. So that's cool to see.
Definitely cool to see. When you play yourself, do you tend to DM or play more? Like as a player or
I guess I would probably technically play more because there are a few GMs in my group. So even though like the last thing I did was like a 6 month like Dungeon Crawl Classics campaign
mm.
that I ran, but prior to that, my wife ran 5e for like 6 months,
Cool.
and right now we're in a D&D 2024 5e campaign that we just started. That one of our other group mates is GMing for the first time. He
Oh,
like
exciting.
wanted to use this system, so yeah. But I guess, actually prior to him, it was mostly my wife and I going back and forth. Um, I guess, yeah. So yeah, if it's just a matter of how much I do, probably play more technically. But I think I do like GMing more, if
Yeah.
that's sort of a sub question we can go
Yeah, yeah, we
into.
can go into that.
Because there's just more to do. Like I definitely find myself as a player, even in D&D,
Mm.
when there's like a lot on your sheet. Like there's a lot you can work with there. Uh, Sometimes during the game, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna go like, okay, we had the food or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like pick up these dishes and like
Yeah.
I'm still hearing everything. Our kitchen's like directly attached to like where we play, but
Nice.
like I'm just gonna do this while we're doing that because like I need to kind of keep busy. And
Yeah.
GMing, like you're never not busy.
It's
So
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah,
I do like that. When I chatted with Amy Vorpal, she said that it was great for neurodivergent people because you can
sure,
fully commit your entire focus, like all of the excess focus as well, to just this one thing, and it's so
yeah.
hard to do with anything else because you are basically becoming a game engine for
Yeah, you're the
material
world.
as well. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, I'm running two campaigns at the moment, one on Mondays, one on Wednesdays, and then I'm playing in one on Tuesdays and Fridays, which is nice.
Are those all at 3 a.m. for those people? Or are
No,
these
so
different
it's
groups?
so
Okay.
no, one of the guys from China is in every single one.
Oh my gosh.
He loves D&D. My good friend Stephen, he absolutely adores D&D. He would we played Sunday as well. I actually did a one-on-one session with him on Sunday for one of his
Wow.
characters. So yeah, he will, if I message him and I'm like, you up? But it's with D&D instead of anything else.
Yeah.
And again, the answer is usually yes. He has a sub 2-year-old as well. So
Wow.
yeah, no sleeping. You just have to embrace it and
Okay.
play D&D instead, I think.
So that's like somehow a life hack. Having a kid gives you more time to play D&D because you just never
Sometimes.
sleep anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Your sleep pattern will be so messed up that if you're in China specifically and you're trying to play with people in the UK, it's fine. I don't think that's why you should have kids, just so we're clear. Don't have kids assuming you're going to have more time to play D&D. I don't think that's going to happen for most people. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Someone do some research into it. I'm not going to do that. But outside of the book, you talked about system. Already talked about like designing your own systems. Is that kind of something that you genuinely want to commit to at some point?
To genuinely want to commit to, is that what you said?
Yeah, genuinely commit to building your own system and kind of publishing that.
Yeah. Again, I sort of have to look at it as a long-term thing, which means it's very vague in my mind. But for that reason, because there's like the fantasy system that'll probably take a lot longer,
Mm.
at some point, I was like, okay, I just need to like get something out, right? I just want to write like a game system and I'm going to intentionally make this like short and
Yeah.
simple, whatever. And so I started writing this, not not a what's the word I'm looking for? Not like a conversion or something,
Mm.
but just inspired by Pokemon.
Right.
And so I started writing this Pokemon inspired RPG where like the players are like the trainers and the GM is kind of like the like narrator, I guess,
Yeah.
whatever. And each player has like a number of monsters, creatures. I don't even remember if I have like a term down. But I got pretty far with that. Like I was actually kind of breezing along with that.
Mm.
I did hit some hiccups with like really checking math on a number of things and then figuring out like level advancement and like learning new moves.
Yeah.
Like that's like a thing that is kind of one of the last hangups. But it honestly got pretty far along, play tested it a little bit, worked out some kinks with that way. So that's like working,
Mm.
but then like the book came along.
Right.
And so now it's been like a year since I've even touched that little thing I wanted to just like get out in the world. So once Delve is over, that's probably the first thing I want to try to get back to just to like finish it.
Yeah.
Or at least get it in a version that I'm more comfortable like putting out in the public, basically. Maybe something like little and free,
Mm.
so that way it can be like better play tested and just see
Yeah.
if people even care, because it's very different from like everything else I talk about. So I don't even know if my own audience will care for this much. But anyway, and so the goal would be to let that put that out there as something like simple, small, and then if there's enough interest in it, put more money into it so I can get some really cool artwork made, and then, maybe do a little like Kickstarter for it, not expecting it to be anything huge, but try to do that before I commit to a bigger,
Yeah.
longer, fantasy game, basically.
I mean, that's very smart to do a reasonably sized one before you do
Yeah. Again, baby steps. That's how I
easy
do
terrain and
everything.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Um, this is a tangentially related question. Is there a way you think D&D could make Pokemon style stuff work?
Could D&D make it work? Probably. I would imagine, because early on in working on my own little system, which is just D6s,
Mm.
I'm pretty sure I had come across like 5e but
Yeah.
Pokemon basically online. Like I know other people have done it, but I didn't try to play any of those. Um, I feel like it could. I feel like it could work, because, like I mentioned earlier, like a fifth edition character by like third level, you already have so many different little abilities.
So many things.
It's like you may as well like whether it's just flavor or whatever, like it may as well be some other little creature that you have
Yeah,
casting that spell or whatever. I mean, I guess kind of like familiars or something.
yeah,
The trouble would just be like that, yeah, making sure that each one can't do too many things or you're like blowing up, like multiplying
yeah,
the action economy suddenly, depending on how many players are still in the game, which is another hang up of what I'm writing. I'm realizing like, okay, I originally wanted this to be anywhere from like a solo game to like 6 players,
yeah,
but 6 players could be like way too much because of then the number of creatures that the player might want to have or
yeah.
something. So yeah, that's a tricky element of role playing game Pokemon style.
No,
But I
for
know
sure.
other people have cracked this because, like I said, there's other like many other people have done this before me. So this isn't super innovative. I just probably need to do more research on where other people have failed so I can avoid those things.
I know Pointy Hat's really into Pokemon. He did the one
Okay.
video which YouTube doesn't like.
Oh, I must have missed that one then. Yeah.
Right. I've been watching Pointy Hat stuff since the beginning, and I didn't realize he did a Pokemon video until I was about to interview him and I was doing research, and I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know why, and I know that Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting has a monster tamer class as well, which is,
Okay.
but because we play online, I play via D&D Beyond, which means I don't have access to that class yet. Hopefully, it comes with the second part of the book.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we did use the crafting rules yesterday, but that's me being excited about
Yeah. Well,
carving.
and they're adding I would think something like that could get like I don't know which book that class is in, but
Hmm.
a lot of the bigger third party stuff is like showing up on D&D Beyond these days.
It
So
is,
I
which
could
is great.
definitely see something from them
Yeah.
being up there sooner or
No,
later. Yeah.
it's great because it makes it easier to access for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Which is
It like it
good.
makes it possible. I
Yeah.
think that's the like one of the common complaints about D&D Beyond is like again, I have actual very little experience trying to do this myself, but like one time years ago, I was just trying to make like a +1 dagger to give
Right.
to a player or like, but like with some other little feature that I
Mm.
couldn't use whatever the default one was. And it was like I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, why is whereas in my game now, I could take an index card and
Yeah,
write
and you just
dagger +1 and it does this here done.
yeah.
So yeah, having these other books that people love available on the site,
Mm.
that's huge. And apparently, like, from what I've heard from like one or two creators who like have had their stuff moved there, it's actually like a really awesome deal and they're still like really benefiting
That's
from
great.
that. So yeah, it
That's good
seems like a
news.
win-win, win-win-win because it's D&D Beyond and the creator and the
Everyone
consumer all
wins,
winning. Yeah.
apart from the poor person that has to program that stuff into D&D Beyond.
Yeah, maybe not them.
Who was probably there like, what do you mean there's a Pokemon class? Just crying at that. And I'm joking. I am sorry. That sounds. Yeah, I've done a fair bit of D&D Beyond homebrewing stuff. I built a couple of
Okay.
subclasses recently, and that's intense.
Yeah,
It's
my
intense.
most experience with D&D Beyond homebrew is watching Jacob from XP to level
Yes.
3 talk about
Yeah.
it.
Great videos. Excellent videos. They always end up in my like, how YouTube just occasionally like, oh, you watch this once, you can watch this again when you're zoning out
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
working or
yeah,
something, and then I just hear Jacob go, "What's up, beautiful?"
yeah.
We're trying to be more positive here. Yeah. Um. Wonderful. Is there anything that you would like to plug? The book, presumably.
Yeah, I guess the book. So here's the question. When is this podcast gonna be
Next
public, this video?
Thursday.
Next oh, okay, it's quite soon, yeah. So, in that case, oh man, you can probably still search for Delve, Delve on Kickstarter, and back it through there, and it'll like hook you up with backer kit and whatever. But sometime soon, then, because the digital version will be available in April,
Mm.
is the plan. Then I think those links are going to send you to the publisher's website, which is Tier Games. So it might be a little finicky for that specific plug. Maybe just check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's a lot easier. Bob World Builder. Yeah.
No, no, the.
Right.
There's a temptation to edit the out of the beginning of the intro and that whole thing, but
No.
I'm not going to. I'm too lazy. um. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you finding time for this.
Yeah, this was fun.
We're gonna wave at the camera and say goodbye now, and then that's the end of
All right.
the thing. So yeah, goodbye.
Bye.